Hey guys, Elisa Mousy here, and welcome back to another Dragon Age Origins Codex video. That's not the right tab. Codex. Looks like we got quite a bit. So, spell combination. How have I never noticed that, and why has that never come up? God damn it. Anyway. Dragon! I don't know if we've got any of that before, so we'll start at the beginning. Dragonlings. Newly hatched dragons are roughly the size of a deer and voraciously hungry. They live for a short time in their mother's lair before venturing out on their own. The slender, wingless creatures are born in vast numbers, as only a few ever make it to adulthood. Dragons. Female dragons take much longer to mature than their male counterparts. They too undergo a metamorphosis of sorts at adulthood, but while males lose the use of their forepaws, females actually grow a third set of limbs specifically to serve as wings. Young females travel great distances looking for a suitable nesting site. Because of their nomadic habits, these are the dragons most frequently encountered by man. High dragon. A fully mature adult female dragon is the high dragon, the great monster of legend, the rarest of all dragonkind. These dragons hollow out massive lairs for themselves, for they need the space to house their harem of drakes as well as their eggs and dragonlings. High dragons are seldom seen. They spend most of their time sleeping and mating, living off the prey their drakes bring back. But once every 100 years or so, the high dragon prepares for clutching by emerging from her lair and taking wing. She will fly far and wide, eating hundreds of animals, most often livestock, over the course of a few weeks and leaving smoldering devastation in her wake. She then returns to her lair to lay her eggs and will not appear in the skies for another century. Pride Demon. Let me explain what it is to face a pride demon, my friends. You may scoff and say that our talents exist only to face mages, but you will encounter demons often. They will be summoned by a maleficar and bound to do his bidding, while at times they will be forced into the possession of a host. They will also face you in their true form, a powerful opponent indeed. Do not underestimate it. Pride is powerful and intelligent. When we have encountered one in its true form, its most common attacks are bolts of fire and ice. Fire they will use to burn an opponent, and the magical flame will combust anything you wear, regardless of make. Ice they will use to freeze an opponent in place. Be cautious, for they enjoy employing this against warriors in particular. More than one group of Templars has made the mistake of attempting to overwhelm a pride demon and suffered the consequences, believe me. And if you think that having the aid of other mages will assist you, you are wrong. Pride demons can render themselves immune to magic for short times, and are adept at dispelling magic that is cast upon you. As much as we Templars are able to disrupt spells. Think on that for a moment, my friends. Be wary of how prideful you become, lest you find too much in common with such a fiend. Transcript of a lecture given by Varen, Templar commander of Tantervale, 686 Steel. Okay, so what do we have for items? That doesn't come up much. The Litany of Adralla. Adralla of Varantium dedicated her life to the study of blood magic, the academic study rather than the practice. A deeply pious mage, she was renowned in her day for having found a counter to every form of mind control, a defense against dreamwalkers, and even counterspells to demonic summons. Her efforts went underappreciated in her native Tevinter, however. After 3 different magisters attempted to have her killed, she fled the country, choosing to take refuge in the land of the blessed Andraste's birth. She spent the remainder of her days within the circle in Ferelden. The Litany of Adralla disrupts the casting of mind control spells. Use the litany whenever a creature tries to dominate another with magic, and it will interrupt the casting. Once the spell is in effect and the character is under a blood mage's power, it is too late. Magic and religion. Apostates. It is not uncommon for the neophyte to mistake apostates and maleficarum as one and the same. Indeed, the Chantry has gone to great lengths over the centuries to establish this is so. The truth, however, is that while an apostate is often a maleficar, he need not be so. A maleficar is a mage who employs forbidden knowledge such as blood magic and the summoning of demons, whereas an apostate is merely any mage who does not fall under the auspices of the Circle of Magi, the Church of Magi, and therefore the Chantry. They are hunted by the Templars, and often they will turn to forbidden knowledge in order to survive, but it would be a lie to say that all apostates begin that way. Historically, apostates become such in one of two ways. They are either mages who have escaped from the circle, or mages who were never part of it to begin with. The latter category includes what we tend to refer to as hedge mages, those with magical ability out in the hinterlands who follow a different magical tradition than our own. Some of these hedge mages are not even aware of their nature. Undeveloped, their abilities can express themselves in a variety of ways, which the hedge mage might attribute to faith, or will, or to another being entirely, depending on his nature. Some of these traditions are passed down from generation to generation, as with the so-called witches of the Chase and Wilders, or the shamans of the Avar barbarians. No matter how a mage has become an apostate, the Chantry treats them alike. Templars begin a systematic hunt to bring the apostate to justice. In almost all cases, justice is execution. If there is some overriding reason the mage should live, the right of tranquility is employed instead. Whether we of the Circle of Magi believe this system fair is irrelevant. It is what it is. From Patterns Within Form by Halden, First Enchanter of Starkhaven, 880 Blessed. Damn. Okay, next is the Black City. No traveler to the Fade can spot the Black City. It is one of the few constants of that ever-changing place. No matter where one might be, the city is visible. Oh, can fail to spot the Black City. I was very confused. No matter where one might be, the city is visible. Always far off, for it seems that the only rule of geography in the Fade is that all points are equidistant from the Black City. The chant teaches that the Black City was once the seat of the Maker, from whence he ruled the Fade, left empty when men turned away from him. Dreamers do not go there, nor do spirits. Even the most powerful demons seem to avoid the place. It was golden and beautiful once, so the story goes, until a group of powerful Magister Lords from the Tevinter Imperium devised a means of breaking in. When they did so, their presence defiled the city, turning it black, which was perhaps the least of their worries. From Beyond the Veil, Spirits and Demons by Enchanter Midramel. The Commandments of the Maker. These truths Maker has revealed to me. As there is but one world, one life, one death, there is but one God, and he is our Maker. They are sinners who have given their love to false gods. Magic exists to serve man, and never to rule over him. Foul and corrupt are they who have taken his gift and turned it against his children. They shall be named Maleficar, accursed ones. They shall find no rest in this world or beyond. All men are the work of the Maker's hands, from the lowest slaves to the highest kings. Those who bring harm without provocation to the least of his children are hated and accursed by the Maker. Those who bear false witness and work to deceive others know this. There is but one truth. All things are known to our Maker, and he shall judge their lies. All things in this world are finite. What one man gains, another has lost. Those who steal from their brothers and sisters do harm to their livelihood and to their peace of mind. Our Maker sees this with a heavy heart. Transfigurations 1:1-5. Okay, the founding of the Chantry. Cordelius Dracon, king of the city-state of Orlais, was a man of uncommon ambition. In the year... Is that supposed to be the approximately? I'll say. In the year approximately 15 Ancient, the young king began construction of a great temple dedicated to the Maker, and declared that by its completion he would not only have united the warring city-states of the south, he would have brought Andrastian belief to the world. In approximately 3 Ancient, the temple was completed. There in its heart, Dracon knelt before the eternal flame of Andraste, and was crowned ruler of the Empire of Orlais. His first act as emperor, to declare the Chantry as the established Andrastian religion of the Empire. It took 3 years and several hundred votes before Olesa Alessa of Montsemard was elected to lead the new chantry. Upon her coronation as divine, she took the name Justinia, in honor of the disciple who recorded Andraste's songs. In that moment, the ancient era ended and the divine age began. From Ferelden, Folklore and History by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. I recognize that name too. If we're gonna meet Brother Genitivi, are we ever gonna maybe meet Sister Petrine as well? I don't know. So, demonic possession. Why do demons seek to possess the living? History claims they are malevolent spirits, the first children of the Maker, angry at their creator for turning from them and jealous of those creations he considered superior. They stare across the veil of the living and do not understand what they see, yet they know they crave it. They desire life, they pull the living across the veil when they sleep and prey on their psyche with nightmares. Whenever they can, they cross the veil into our world to possess it outright. We know that any demon will seek to possess a mage, and upon doing so, will create an abomination. Most of the world does not know, however, that the strength of an abomination depends entirely on the power of the demon that possesses the mage. This is true, in fact, of all possessed creatures. One demon is not the same as any other. Demons can, for instance, be classified. Enchanter Brahm's categorization of demons into that portion of the psyche they primarily prey upon has held since the Tower Age. According to Brahm, the weakest and most common of demons are those of rage. They are the least intelligent and most prone to violent outbursts against anything living. They expend their energies quickly, and the most powerful of them exhibiting great strength and occasionally the ability to generate fire. Next are the demons of hunger. In a living host, they become cannibals and vampires, and within the dead, they feed upon the living. Theirs are the powers of draining, both life force and of mana. Next are the demons of sloth, the first on Brahm's scale that are capable of true intelligence. In its true form, this demon is known as a shade, a thing which is nearly indistinct and invisible, for such is sloth's nature. It hides and stalks, unaware, and when confronted, it sows fatigue and apathy. Demons of desire are amongst the most powerful and are the ones most likely to seek out the living and actively trick them into a deal. These demons will exploit anything that can be coveted, wealth, power, lust, and they will always end up getting far more than they give. A desire demon's province is that of illusions and mind control. Strongest of all demons are those of pride. These are the most feared creatures to loose upon the world. Masters of magic, and in possession of vast intellect, they are true schemers. It is they who seek most strongly to possess mages, and will bring other demons across the veil in numbers to achieve their own ends, although what that might be has never been discovered. A greater pride demon brought across the veil would threaten the entire world. From the Maker's First Children, by Bader, Senior Enchanter of Ostwick, 812 Blessed. Blood Magic, the Forbidden School. Oh, yeah, right, with all the other schools of magic. Foul and corrupt are you who have taken my gift and turned it against my children. Transfigurations, 1810. The ancient Tevinters did not originally consider blood magic a school of its own. Rather, they saw it as a means to achieve greater power in any school of magic. The name, of course, refers to the fact that magic of this type uses life, specifically in the form of blood, instead of mana. It was common practice at one time for a magister to keep a number of slaves on hand so that, should he undertake the working of a spell that was physically beyond his abilities, he could use the blood of his slaves to bolster the casting. Over time, however, the Imperium discovered types of spells that could only be worked by blood. Although lyrium will allow a mage to send his conscious mind into the Fade, blood would allow him to find the sleeping minds of others, view their dreams, and even influence or dominate their thoughts. Just as treacherous, blood magic allows the veil to be opened completely so that demons may physically pass through it into our world. The rise of the Chant of Light and the subsequent fall of the Old Imperium has led to blood magic being all but stamped out, as it should be, for it poses nearly as great a danger to those who would practice it as to the world at large. From the Four Schools, a treatise by First Enchanter Josephus. Okay, here's a question. If blood magic, if if the use of blood is what is required to be conscious and be able to see into each other's dreams in the Fade, why could we do that when we were in the Fade? Is it because of the taint? Is there something about the Darkspawn blood being in us that did it? I don't know. Culture and history, what do we got? Thetis calendar. For most good folk, the details of our calendar have little purpose. It is useful only for telling them when the summer day festival will be held, and when the snows are expected to begin, and when the harvest must be complete. The naming of the years are a matter for historians and taxmen, and few if pressed could even tell you the reason that our current age is named after dragons. Hey! It is 930 Dragon Age, the 30th year of the 9th age since the crowning of the Chantry's first divine. Each age is exactly 100 years, with the next age's name chosen in the 99th year. The scholars in Val Royale advise the Chantry of portents seen in that 99th year, and the Chantry authorities pore over the research for months before the divine announces the name of the imminent age. The name is said to be an omen of what is to come, and what the people of Thetis will face for the next 100 years. The current age was not meant to be the Dragon Age. Throughout the last months of the Blessed Age, the Chantry was preparing to declare the Sun Age, named for the symbol of the Orlesian Empire, which at that time sprawled over much of the south of Thetis, and controlled both Ferelden and what is now Navarra. It was to be a celebration of Orlesian imperial glory. But as the rebellion in Ferelden reached a head and the Battle of Riverdane was about to begin, a peculiar event occurred. A rampage, the rising of a dreaded high dragon. Dragons had been thought practically extinct since the days of the Navarran dragon hunts, and they said that to see this great beast rise from the frostbacks was both majestic and terrifying. As the rampage began, and the high dragon decimated the countryside in its search for food, the elderly divine Faustine II abruptly declared the Dragon Age. Some said the divine was declaring support for Orlais in the battle against Ferelden, since the dragon is an element of the Dufayel family heraldry of King Megrin, the so-called usurper king of Ferelden. Be that as it may, the high dragon's rampage turned towards the Orlesian side of the Frostback Mountains, killing hundreds and sending thousands more fleeing into the northern coast. The Ferelden rebels won the Battle of Riverdane, ultimately securing their independence. Many thus think that the Dragon Age will come to represent a time of violent and dramatic change for all of Thetis. It remains to be seen. From the studious Theologian by Brother Genesivi! Hey! History of Ferelden, Chapter 1. Ferelden, as we think of it now, did not exist before the Exalted Age. Instead, the valley was divided up into dozens of old Alamari clans. They warred constantly with one another over land, honor, the allegiance of the freeholders, and, on one notable occasion, the name given to a favorite Mabari. I love that. And then, in the 33rd year of the Exalted Age, Colinhad Therin became Terran of Denerim, and everything changed. Most of what we know about the founding of our nation comes from the old songs that the bards passed down through the ages. The songs are filled with wild exaggerations and outright lies, but this hardly differs from the scholarly papers of some of my contemporaries. There is no agreement among poets or scholars on how he did it, but Colinhad gathered the support of the Circle of Magi, and they crafted for him a suit of silvery white armor that, by all accounts, repelled both arrow and blade. Colinhad led his army across the valley and captured Redcliffe, one of the only 3 men who ever successfully laid siege to that fortress, and presented himself to the bands of the Landsmeet as their king. The poets tell us that every lord knelt before Colinhad without question. The fact that he attended the Landsmeet surrounded by ash warriors and loyal mages of the Circle is generally omitted from the ballads, however. From Colinhad came the line of Therin kings and queens who reigned uninterrupted until the 44th year of the Blessed Age, when the Orlesian invasion came. The rightful king was forced to flee Denerim, and for 70 years a puppet sat upon the throne. From Ferelden, Folklore and History by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Geography of Ferelden. The Kingdom of Ferelden is the southernmost civilized nation in Thedas, although some scholars dispute that claim to civilization. It is perhaps the most physically isolated of all the kingdoms of Thedas. To the east is the Amaranthian Ocean, to the north the Waking Sea, and to the south the Korkari Wilds, which in the summer months are a vast peat bog, and in the winter become a treacherous labyrinth of iced-over waterways. The Frostback Mountains guard the western border, and only a narrow plain between the mountains and sea allow travel between Ferelden and Orlais. Most of the land in the central portion of the kingdom, called the Banorn, is open plains. These are crossed by the remnants of an ancient Tevinter highway that once collected Val Royeaux with Ostagar on the edge of the Korkari Wilds. The western part of Ferelden is dominated by Lake Collinhad, a huge caldera filled by the runoff of glaciers from nearby mountains. Lake Collinhad is home to the famed fortress of Redcliffe, as well as the Circle Tower, which houses Ferelden's Circle of Magi. In the east is the vast Brazilian forest, which the superstitious locals profess to be haunted, and from which rise the Dragon's Peak, a solitary mountain that guards the capital city of Denerim, from In the Pursuit of Knowledge, the Travelers of a Chantry Scholar, by Brother Genetivi. Now, Redcliffe. King Collinhad Theron once famously declared, "The fate of Redcliffe is the fate of all Ferelden. Certainly the castle is the first and last defense for the sole land route into Ferelden, and the country has never fallen to any force that did not first capture Redcliffe. The castle, which despite being 3 times captured, is popularly described as unassailable. Also guards one of the largest and most prosperous towns in Ferelden. Redcliffe village is well situated near the mountain pass to Orzammar and the Orlesian border, and so serves as a center of foreign trade. For these reasons, Redcliffe is accounted an Arling, despite the smallness of the domain. The inhabitants of Redcliffe village are primarily fishermen or merchants who ship dwarven goods through the pass from Orlais to Denerim. When the entire village smells of smoked fish on certain late autumn mornings, the merchants in their finery do their utmost to pretend otherwise. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, the Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brother Genetivi. And that is all for culture and history. What more do we have about the characters? I don't know if any of this is new. There's not a lot, so. Alistair was a novice Templar when Duncan recruited him into the Grey Wardens, or rescued him, as Alistair would say. His mother was a serving girl who died when Alistair was very young. He was raised by Aemon Garin of Redcliffe for a time, or Arl of Redcliffe for a time. That thing about Alistair's mom isn't exactly true. She appears in later games. I will point her out when we meet her. If I remember. Hopefully I'll remember. The Arl's wife, Isolde, suspected the reason her husband took an interest in the welfare of a servant's child was that Alistair was Aemon's son. She insisted that the boy be sent away to the Chantry. Isolde's suspicions were unfounded, however. Alistair was not Aemon's son, but King Merrick's. Aemon sheltered the boy to hide his existence from Queen Rowan, Aemon's sister. Alistair is fascinated by magic, even as his life is defined by fighting its darker manifestations. He has a fondness for strange runestones and figural studies of arcane creatures. Okay. Connor Garin. While most of the bands and Arls of Ferelden cart their children with them to the Land's Meet in the interest of eventually marrying them off, Connor has spent his entire life at Redcliffe, and it's hardly surprising. The child possessed the gift of magic. By law, he should have been taken to the Circle of Magi at the first sign, abdicating his claim to Redcliffe. Instead, the boy was kept out of public view and his magic hushed up, with disastrous results. All mages are beacons that attract the attention of Fade spirits. Because of this, they are trained and tested by the Circle to ensure that they can withstand attacks from malevolent Fade creatures that seek entry into the waking world. Untrained, Connor drew the attention of a powerful demon that tore the Veiled asunder. He was freed from the demon's power at a terrible price. No. That's not what happened. That is wrong. His mom's still alive. That's not what we did. Try again. Is there stuff here now about... That better not say that Isolde is dead. Because she's not. Let's see. The only thing added to Flemeth was she was slain at Morgan's behest, at least apparently. Interesting. Brother Genitivi! As it is the duty of all true sons of the Chantry to make the chant heard from every corner of the world, I made it my mission to find as many corners of the world as possible. The Maker can hardly expect us to do one without the other. An excerpt from In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brother Genitivi. That is such a mouthful. Brother Genitivi is one of the Chantry's most well-known scholars, primarily on the basis of the stories he has published, which many of his contemporaries dismiss as fanciful, of his travels across the length and breadth of Thedas. First Enchanter Irving. There is no higher office in a circle tower than that of First Enchanter. The one who holds the title must not only be an able administrator, but also a mentor, leader, and surrogate parent to all the mages in the tower. Irving has proven himself to be all these things with an added dose of cunning. Most apprentices know that little goes on in the tower that Irving does not know. He can soothe Templars angered by some childish magical prank, at the same time that he lauds the pranksters, and everyone walks away satisfied. Although much of the circle was destroyed by Aldred's abominations, Irving survived and plans to rebuild what he can. That isn't... The thing of giving her life, that isn't what happened. Is that what they expect you to do? So that's what they add? That actually kind of makes me salty. The Arling of Redcliffe was a source of constant trouble for Emperor Reveal during the occupation. It was rumored that since each new report sent the Emperor into a fit of violent rage, his court had taken to poisoning messengers before they could deliver their accounts. Isolde's family was the 10th, and to be given the difficult task of governing Redcliffe. And since most of the previous Arls had either been murdered by their bands or beheaded by the Emperor, they did not approach this job with great deals of enthusiasm. Isolde met Aemon, not realizing he was the rightful heir to her father's domain, and quickly became smitten with him for being part of the resistance. Never mind that it was her family he was resisting. Perhaps a little too romantic for her own good, she insisted upon staying behind with Aemon when the rest of her family was driven out. When her only son began to show signs of possessing magic, Isolde tried to cover it up, knowing that he would be taken from her by the Circle if found out. She hired an apostate mage to tutor him in secret, little knowing that her tutor was being paid to poison her husband. Aemon fell ill, and Connor, desperate, tried to use magic to save his father, magic that attracted the attention of a demon. This is not right. Correctly would be, she approved the plan to go to the Circle Tower and gather a group of mages to free Connor, and now she has tasked us with the task of finding the Urn of Sacred Ashes. There, I fixed it. Okay. So I think this is where it starts new for Leliana. There's more to Leliana than had even been apparent at Lothering, however. She spent much of her life as a bard in Orlais, a minstrel, assassin, and spy employed by the nobles of Val Royeaux in their elaborate games of intrigue. Her decision to join the Chantry was not merely the product of her disenchantment with the life of a bard. Leliana was framed by her bard master and fled to escape execution as a traitor. Leliana takes care to honor the Lothering cloister that took her in, and keeps symbols of Andraste's blessing close to her heart. Okay. I think we'll only get through the rest of the character stuff. Algren. Okay, yes, this one at the end, Ogren voiced, challenging his palate with alcohols of ever-increasing rarity, potence, In outright lethality, this has afforded him no benefit whatsoever. Shale. I don't know how much I read about this, so I'm just going to read her whole thing because it's short. The golems of Orzammar once made up the vanguard of the dwarven army, holding back the tides of darkspawn that flooded out of the deep roads. But the art of making them was lost, and many of them succumbed to wear and damage in battle. Shale has no memories, either of the time spent fighting in the deep roads, or of coming to Hawnleith, only a few spotty and bitter recollections of its last master. Kahari unearthed Shale's control rod and awakened it, adding a bitter, malfunctioning golem to the menagerie of companions. 300 years earlier, she had been Shale of House Kadash, warrior of King Valtor, and volunteer who chose to dedicate her life for all time to the defense of Orzammar. Sten. His sword and honor restored, Sten chose to continue with Kahari and take the battle to the archdemon. Hell yeah, he did. Really? This doesn't talk about Wynne being basically dead? For Wynne, the printed word is a window to true understanding. A scholar at heart, she feels that what a people commit to a page is sacred by definition. And then Zevran. I'm pretty sure this is the only new thing for that. Zevran shows an affinity for the finer things in life, hardly surprising for an Antivan crow, but his appreciation can be more poetic than he lets on. A simple bar of refined silver or gold, uncomplicated by a craftsman hammer, is elegantly valuable. And that is it for this time. I want to just go through and, because I know, get those out of the way. So we have some books and songs and notes and quest-related stuff. So I don't know entirely when the next Codex video is going to be, but we'll figure that out when we get to it. For now, if you liked what you saw, leave a like, leave a comment. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Maybe tap that notification bell to get notified every time I upload. See you on the flip side. Elisa out.